Okay, I just started recording. Hi everyone, I'm Leandra. It's nice to meet all of you. Thank you for coming. I am the co-founder of Vidcode. My role involves working really closely with our product team to come up with new features and like testing different features of our site as well. And I on actually like rolling out computer science programs and kind of planning their curriculum, ideally to reach every student in a programming activity or a programming course. So that for all of those who just arrived, we'll be going through digital portfolios, specifically on Vidcode, but I think everything we go over here is applicable to any class. I'm always looking for alternatives to grading. On Vidcode, we do have rubrics, we do have things to support grading, but I love portfolios as a way to move beyond just like traditional grading, reflect on and share their work with others. So today we'll be going over ways to do that within the Vidcode platform and also ways to do that with external portfolios. So let me jump in here. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. My teammate Allie is here too, I think, so she'll also be in the chat answering questions. Let's see, sorry, I'm just sharing my screen here. Okay, there we go, shared away. So for those for students to learn programming while making creative projects. So those projects can include across the board from like video games to filters to animations. This is an animation from an hour project last year, or I guess last December. And so while students make these animations, they follow tutorials and they learn things like creating variables, modifying those properties, like creating loops to make animations like the one we saw here. See who had a question? Oh, cool, Sally. And so part of go beyond just like a student makes a project, like great, they hand it in. What happens next? And so one of those answers is that we do have to have students about their projects. So the very first thing I'm going to share here is a way for when students are submitting a project for them to actually have a description and a reflection in. I'm going to jump into my class dashboard here. For those of you, once again, new to Vidcode, there are two sides to the site. There's, you can go in and see all of the tutorials I can do, learn to code, create all these different projects. And there's also the teacher side. So there's all of these lesson plans that have things like introductions to different concepts, but also have reflection and sharing prompts, which is what I want to focus on today. So if I jump into a lesson plan and go all the way to the bottom here, I'm going to have options for sharing, reflection, and then extended reflection. So as the student is going through an activity, let's say like create a filter, the very first one, there's, and let's go ahead and make something really quick here. Normally I would spend more time on this part, but I want to get to the external portfolios in the half hour that we have. So using Vidcode, I can go through the tutorial here, click, and start drag them into my code editor and play around. Many of you here have done this part before. Let's see. Yeah, this looks good. And I'm ready to submit my project. As a teacher, you can, before they go to submit, give them one of these prompts. Give them a reflection prompt or an extended reflection prompt. And instead of using that in like a complete, actually respond to that prompt. So here, when I go to submit my I can call it pixel butterfly. And I can also choose one of and use this space, take advantage of this space to answer the question. So let's see here. I'll say something a student actually said to me recently. I can't type, make it close. And then they could always write more as well. I was able to be creative, just for example. And when I go ahead and view my project, that'll be saved on that actual project for me. So whenever I pull this up to share, when I'm going through my projects at the end of the semester or the end of the unit or the end of the course, I'm able to have this log of how I was responding and what I thought about all these projects I was working on. So that's how I would do it as like an individual student just within Vidcode. But the other thing that I want to show you all is the way that we would share things class-wide as well. So next we're going to go into like a class-wide showcase, and then we're kind of going to loop around back to individual student portfolios. So into the teacher side of things and go back to my dashboard. So here's the dashboard. I think many of you have seen this section of things. Student work here. I'm going to be able to create this like external showcase of my students' work. And so this is less an individual portfolio and show how they've progressed through the semester, show examples of like what I think are some of the best projects, maybe talk about why. For some schools that are trying to like get buzz around a computer science course, it can be used as a way to like share externally with students or parents and kind of show them what's getting made in the class. So these are the projects in my showcase right now. If I wanted to add more, I would just hop over to projects where I can projects. I think I really like this llama project. I'm going to press these three dots, go add to showcase, and then this little star here, I can go back, share student work. There it is. So I can just preview it. Cool about the showcase. One, no student identifiable information is on it. There's no username. Everything is like, unless I add it, community, I don't have to worry about my students' data or information getting compromised. Even when I click into one of the projects, let's click into this cool llama project. Oh man, I love this one. I actually didn't know this was what I was choosing. You can see there's information about actual students' information isn't on here. This is another example of a showcase from like one of my classes. You can see that there's a lot more on here. So there's really no limit to like how many projects you can add to this showcase. The other thing that you can do here, back to that kind of like prompt like idea or reflection idea, is that you are able to add descriptions to these. So if I was thinking about ways to like actually talk about the projects that my students have been working on, maybe they've done like unit 1 to 3 and like learned about like variables. Go ahead and save that. And then it'll be updated over here in my showcase. And I could always like work with my students and maybe something like a Google Doc to write something out that like looks a bit more meaningful. Cool. So that is sort of everything within Vidcode. But I do want to go kind of beyond that now and show you how you would start. I'm like moving things around in Zoom right now. It's like kind of crazy to have like the chat up and everything. Okay, cool. So there's 2 resources that I want to share with you. And it's sort of up to you how extreme you want to go with this. There we go. On one end of things, we are going to introduce Google Sites. A lot of you use Google Sites. I find it really intuitive, and it's a way to embed projects really easily and like show student work really easily. Sort of programming components. And we're also going to go over Glitch. And Glitch is a way to actually like make a website from absolute scratch, like HTML, CSS. And I would use that if you're trying to find a way to have students have a site that they can totally customize, where they can also like show off their Vidcode work. So let's start with Google Sites, just because it is easier to use and does still get students thinking about like websites and thinking about how they would show their work. So to make a Google site, you would just go to sites.google.com. You can make ones that are associated with your Google Classroom, and you just make a new one. I think, so when I created the site, this part had already been created for me. My background image. I chose this purple color, but we could have chosen like this cool like leaves design instead. And it's this like really, really intuitive platform where I can add text on the left here, add images, and it gives me a place to share my work. So I've done this in a couple ways here. The first page is kind of an overview of the single unit. And I could do this for every one of my units as I go through, which at the end gives me one place to kind of see how I progressed from unit 1 forward. And then I also created this individual projects page where I showed the journey of a single project. It does. So here, to actually create these embed blocks, and I did this 3 different ways just to show you all the ways that we are able to do it. So I just selected this 3 layout in the corner. Let's say if I was going to do this for unit 2, for example. And then for text box, I just dragged this over. There we go. And dragged it up. And can just write like unit 2. Super easy. There are a few different ways that I'm able to embed Vidcode. I'm able to just embed a preview. I'm able to embed the whole page, which I think is cool because it actually has the code there. And I'm able to just embed the actual video, which I also think is cool. This is how the site looks once it's live. So here is where it is with like the video or with my code. And then here's what it looks like with just like the standalone video. And on the preview side of things, I'm able to click this and open my project. So to show you how to do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my portfolio here. And I'm going to open this game that I made recently. So let's say that I made this in Unit 2. It's this game where I can like chase these aliens with this cat graphic. So to embed it, I have a few options. The first is I'm going to go to share my project. You see that there's this link here, but there's also this embed code. So with the embed code, I can copy it, go back to my site, click embed code. It'll say HTML goes here, and I paste it in. You know it's right because it has this iframe. It works very similar if any of you have ever like embedded YouTube videos before, and then click next. I'll get this nifty preview of it, and I can go ahead and insert it. It's really easy to move things around in this editor. I can just go ahead and like delete this picture here and drag my project up above my text. And it's that easy. If I do want to include my code, let me show you. Instead of copying my embed code, I copy my link. And I just did that by, this is going to be the same on any project page. I do that by going down and pressing the Share Student Work Project or button, Share Your Project button. I click it, link to project will be on the top, embed code will be on the bottom, and I just go link to project. So any Vidcode project that you're on, just look for the Share Your Project button on the bottom right. I'm going to go back here and press embed one more time, but instead I'm going to keep by URL. Wait for it to load, and then insert. So these are my two options. This preview is just going to be a link to the page, whereas the whole page is going to be the version that has my code on it. So I like the version with my code on it. I'm going to select this, and then go ahead and insert it. And it's going to load here. Awesome. And just like the last one, I'm just going to delete this block and drag this whole thing up here. And it'll take a second to load, but then it'll be available. Cool. So once I am happy with this, once I think this looks awesome, I can publish it, and then it'll be live. So I have all of my Unit 1 projects on the top, and then my Unit 2 projects on the bottom. So that's how you might create like a whole overall portfolio site. That's really clear in a site where they're not actually seeing the code that makes the website for a few reasons. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. One is that it gets to sit down and think about what makes a good website. So maybe they have an about page, maybe they have a home page that just talks about their work and just has one featured project, and then maybe they have a page that like has all the projects listed on it. But this might be the first time that your students have actually sat down and had to think about site navigation from the perspective of them creating it, which I think is really like important and really cool to do. So the other thing that I want to show you really quick I'll actually go to the live view to show you this. Yeah. So in addition to having like a full site portfolio, I can also have this like individual project page. So here, I actually put on a timeline the progression of me working on one project. I did this, but a student could have been the one to do this. So I started the first week of January. This is as far as I got. My raindrops are appearing on the screen, but they're not animating. And this is for the control the weather activity where I'm making like a bunch of different raindrops go down the screen. So in the next week, I finished the project. It's working as correctly, but it doesn't do anything extra. I said that I figured out how to loop through the array. I like figured out the bug that I was working on. And I posted this iteration of my project here. One of the reflection prompts of this is to like, what would you use to add multiple different types of emojis instead of just these raindrops? So I did that in the next week. I took that prompt and returned to my project and figured out how to add different types of emojis by calling them randomly from an array. And then in the final week of the project, I really customized it and made it my own. So I sat back, I fixed the bug where everything was appearing in a line. I only added stars. I did different customizations to make them smaller. I changed my video to be this like cool kaleidoscope with different filters that I learned back in like the first activity. And I was really able to make it mine. So I felt really good about this final project, and I pasted my code next to it so people could access it without having to open the project up. So that's everything that I did in Google Classroom. We only have 5 minutes left, so let me jump over to Glitch and show you what's going on there. So Glitch is going to be a little bit different than Google Classroom because it really is just a place for you to make a web page that has like HTML and CSS in it. So for your students to make a Glitch account, they don't have, or for your students to make a Glitch site, they don't have to make an account. They can just go to Glitch, click New Project, and then Hello Web Page. And a web will open up. Seems like someone is not muted. So once I create a new Glitch site, I'm able to, sorry, I was trying to figure out where that sound was coming from. I was able to open it up. So the Glitch site gets opened up and it's broken up into this HTML page and then a JavaScript page and a CSS page. So all it looks like is this page here. So like I said, jumping right into HTML can be a little bit frustrating. I probably wouldn't recommend this for every class. But if your students did have HTML experience before and do want to dive into something like this, I think it's a really cool opportunity for them to learn how links work, learn how some basic CSS works. So let me show you the one I was working on. So in this site, I was working on my portfolio. I changed the header to Leandra's Computer Science 1 class. I added some links on the top. And then as soon as I'm ready to embed a project, just like Google Sites, I can go back to my project, go to share, copy that embed code. For Glitch, I can only use the embed code. I can't just like embed the whole link like I could with Google Sites. And then I can just choose a spot within this body tag. So make sure it's within the body, but as long as it is, it should show up. I'm just going to paste it in, and it'll load. So it's really that easy. There's a lot that you can do with just HTML and CSS. Like I said, it can get kind of overwhelming kind of quickly. But there's also ways to make it less overwhelming, like doing small things, like just changing the background color.
Doing a webinar. You know, are you really doing yours? I'm doing 10 things at a time.
And just giving them a chance to play around.
I can ask you to take a look at them. I used to just
Okay. Ali, could you make sure everyone's muted? And then I would be able to do this with any project as well. Similar to the Google sites, if I did want to add text, it is possible. It just means that I have to do it manually. So here, under this is called a paragraph tag. I could just add a new paragraph tag and write something about my project, alien cat cam. Yeah, so up to you, like which direction you want to go. Just to show you, this is actually an example of a glitch portfolio from a real class right now. And I think it's really cool. I really like this like menu on the top. And then like if you click any of these graphics, they like load the actual project. And they've used like this area next to the project to actually like talk about what they've learned at each step. So I think that this is a really, really cool example. So that is really all the resources. I'm going to go ahead and share afterwards. I'm just going to send out an email with things like the recording and all of the resources we went over today, just links to everything. But does everyone or anyone have any questions about anything? I have to go kind of fast to keep it under a half hour. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask now. Yes, or email us. My email is leandra@vidcode.com, but info@vidcode.com will also work, as will support@vidcode.com. Or if you have any questions, let me actually show you one other way to get in touch with us. You can always go on the Vidcode site and reach out to us here on the chat on the bottom right. So we are there 9 to 5, and if we're not there after 9 to 5, then we'll get back to you like before school starts the next day. No, so multiple class showcases. You can make a showcase for every single one of your classes. Yeah, no, nothing in particular. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for coming. It was great to talk to all of you today. And have a great rest of your week, everyone.